you know you're on camera right now, Monday. So do we still want to keep talking about the M word? About the M word? Wow. So we're blessed here today. Yeah. Who do we have here?
This is Miss Monday Michiru.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Really.
I think we've met before.
We met
a couple times. Yeah. We've done some shenanigans a couple times.
Yeah. We're lucky to call her friend, but she's a musician, singer, Songstress, right? Producer,
goddess,
composer, goddess. Yeah. Yeah. She is
chef.
Oh yeah,
incredible
amazing
chef.
Says chef.
Says chef. Your Christmas dinners I'm going to miss this year, or just they're very memorable.
And a wine lover,
yes.
sake lover, gourmand, yeah. Anyway, I've been her fan for a long time, and she was one of the considered like a pioneer of Japanese acid jazz scene.
Apparently,
and I became her fan around that time. Yeah. And been a fan since. Yeah. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Wow, we're excited. Yeah. So we're gonna go right into it, and we just really want to know what accident, what mishap you had along the way that
turn your life around,
turn your world around, and have you
made you who you are.
Right. Okay. So I have the mother of accident stories, because it really was an accident that led me towards where I ended up going musically. So my parents being jazz musicians meant that I grew up listening to and loving music all my life. I just thought that what they did was the coolest thing ever. And fortunately I had, I guess the talent gene, and I slowly started picking up. And I was playing like the recorder and the harmonica, and then eventually that led to playing the flute. And when you start off musically, if you're a true student, you've got to learn the basics, which means you've got to learn classical music. Well, I loved classical music. Like, it was a passion. I truly loved it.
What, as a child?
Oh, yeah.
Like 5, 6 years old?
Well, I started playing the flute probably age 10, was it? 11? I think it was 11. And that is what you start off with. And I loved the melodies. I loved the music. I loved to hear orchestras.
So you were a rock star from the beginning?
I was a classic rock star from the beginning.
Of course. I'm going to take a break for a second because I want to show a clip to our audience, the wonderful Monday Michiru and the most amazing voice she has.
Oh. Okay, love it. Finish. Okay. All right. So I went to the Interlochen Arts Academy, which is a school. It's basically a preparatory college, meaning a high school, but we're not focusing on the academics. We're focusing on our arts. There's dancers, there's musicians, there's actors, blah blah blah. So I went there for 2 years, graduated.
This was in LA, right?
This was actually, we were living in LA, but the school is in Michigan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, northern Michigan, freezing. For a California girl, it was death. It was horrible. So, before graduating, of course, we all had our dreams and we want to go to this college, that conservatory. So I went through all of the rounds of the interviews and auditioning and stuff. And I got into a couple of schools, but I really needed to have a scholarship to go. My parents are jazz musicians. They're not making a whole lot of bread, so I had to earn my way in there, and I couldn't get the scholarship that I needed. Got $500 from Manhattan School of Music. That's nothing. That's like 1 month of
even back then.
That doesn't even cover your shoe expense.
Come on. Anyhow, so it was like, all right, so the decision was made that I would wait it out one more year and just sort of woodshed at home, and then go again for the next round of auditions with the, earmarking. I'm going to get in here. Anyhow, so I, 2 weeks before the auditions, and I was about to audition for specific schools that Julius Baker, who was this great flute player, he was then a principal flutist for the New York Philharmonic, right?
Wow.
And I mean, he was a god, and probably still is for many of us. He taught it at Juilliard, he taught at Manhattan School of Music, and he taught at another school, maybe Curtis, I can't remember. But I specifically wanted to study under him. So it had to be Manhattan School of Music or Juilliard, right? So those were the two schools that I was going for. And 2 weeks before the auditions, I got into a car accident.
Wow.
Literally an accident, right? So going downhill, Coldwater Canyon, my brakes go. In front of me is a Mercedes-Benz, right? And I'm thinking, wow, in the remote seconds before you know you're about to crash or something bad's about to happen, you flash, everything is going really slow because you're trying to hyper think, how am I going to get out of this, right?
I had one car accident in my life, and I remember hitting the windshield and it's traumatizing.
It really is. No, so that flashing of what do I do?
Right.
And I thought, if I hit that Mercedes in front of me, that's like over for me, like car insurance. I don't even know if I had car insurance. So I'm thinking, don't do it. Don't go for the Mercedes. Go for the wall. So I went for the cement wall, and I was driving a Datsun at the time, which is a very lightweight car. It smashed like you can't believe. This is before it was mandatory for us to wear the seatbelts.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it was like a... So
it was a really serious accident.
It was a pretty serious accident. I mean, I didn't die,
Right.
But the injury was such that it impacted my bottom teeth. So one of the teeth actually fell out. Another one poked itself through my through the bottom. Like it was literally like you could see it on the other side. Yeah, I was totally conscious and shock, of course. And and injured my knee as well. It was really bad. So fortunately, they took me to the dentists, and they stuck it back in. So I didn't lose my teeth. It died, but that's why one of them is a little gray. Anyhow, so yeah, that happened. And so 2 weeks later, I was supposed to do an audition. I went still, because I still had my plane ticket, but I literally limped off because I had a little cast on over my knee, and had the whole, like stump along. Right. And I couldn't practice. And 2 weeks of not practicing on the flute is death. And when I practiced, when I did the audition for Julius Baker, he had the year before loved my playing, and particularly loved my piccolo playing, and said, you could play in the orchestra now with that piccolo playing. So I was like, yes, he loves me. I'm going to get in, this time with the, but that was it. There was no way. My chops were gone, and he literally heard me and stopped me in the middle and said, what happened to you? And, like all of my stories of, I had a car, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Because that is the point that you've got to perform, and you're not, you're out of there, because there's other people behind you, who are going to play great. And so yeah, that was the accident that was the turnaround point for me to say, do I still hang in there and do another year at then 20 years old to try to get into conservatory that I might not get into? Maybe this isn't for me. Maybe this is, the universe telling me do something else, Maybe that was the break that I needed.
So tell us what you did.
Well, so I came back and sort of, shattered on the floor. But after that, it was sort of like, it took about a year or two of figuring out what do I want to do. And voice was something that I discovered that I actually had when I was in high school at Interlochen. It was something that I picked up just for ear training, and discovered, I have an actual, not a bad voice. I can sing in tune. That's the big hump. And then it was, I guess, after that whole shenanigan, I just thought, well, maybe I should sort of explore the vocal side, because I can't just suddenly pick up another instrument. It takes years to hone that instrument. But the voice, it's sort of a natural thing you use every day, and maybe I can sing. Maybe I could do that. So yeah, that was the beginning.
You sing pretty good.
No, I'll be honest with you. I don't find myself to be a natural singer. It's not something that comes naturally to me. It's not like one of these people who just, suddenly they wake up and they sound like Whitney Houston. Like that is like a God-given voice. Mine is, it's a little quirky.
I'm just gonna say, when you're up there and you're singing and then you bust out that flute and you've got this amazing band behind you, there's nothing like it. It's gorgeous.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I can't wait for live music to happen again.
Oh my God, all of us.
I will be at your first show.
Thank you.
You know that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you started focusing on your voice.
Yeah.
And you're in LA, Los Angeles?
I was living in LA at the time. After I got out of Interlochen, I went back to LA because that's where we were moving. And a year after that, my parents moved to New York, and I was like, do I stay in LA or do I go to New York with them? And
right.
It's at that age that you want to have a little independence from your parents. You don't want to be under their roof. So yeah, I was on my own there. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And then you moved to Japan, right?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
That one was really luck on my side. Because I was pursuing singing, I had been reaching out to different people to see if they might be interested in taking me on as a client or whatever. And there was one manager who was sort of trying to get me out there and almost went somewhere but never went anywhere, right? And meanwhile, for whatever it's worth, because I'm half Japanese, right? There were a lot of scouts on the streets in LA for some reason, and they were scouting models. And I'm not model material, but because of my, I guess, exotic look, and I guess that was the thing in Japan for the modeling situation, I got scouted several times. So, there was a little bit, I guess, of a buzz about me. I don't know. I really don't know. But eventually what happened was, the last job I had before moving to Japan was at a film distribution company. And here comes the Japanese clients from Tohoku Shinsha or maybe one of those companies. I'm sorry, I can't remember it. I feel really bad that I can't. Anyhow, but they came and they were having a dinner, and they knew I was, half Japanese, right. And they're like, come to dinner with us. So there was Akiyoko, who is a very famous lyricist back in her day, and there was another man who was visiting with them, who was a poet or literature in fine literature or something like that. Anyhow, so they took a liking to me, and the people from the film companies like, can you help her out? She really wants to, get out there.
Well, you were lucky to be at that dinner, right?
Yeah, I was very lucky, very lucky. Well, so the lyricist, she went back and talked to this man, Taga-san, who owned his own management company, production company, recording company. He had the whole
and he's like, I'm going to make you a superstar.
Enterprise. Sort of.
Yeah.
He got a hold of me through her, and he happened to be one of the producers for this movie called Luminous Woman, or in Japanese, Hikaru Onna. And the director was looking for someone to be the lead in his film who was not a actress. He wanted an amateur, but he wanted her to be a singer. And they had already been in production 9 months without a lead.
Wow.
They had been looking and looking and looking, and they couldn't find it.
And you just magically appear. Wow.
So and I got that. Yeah, that was like, man.
Wow.
And you won an award for that.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did what, about 5 or 6 films?
I don't know.
I did a little bit of research on it. I think I have a clip for our viewers.
Oh my God! Not the naked scene, please.
I think I found something. You did like a circus kind of film.
Oh my God, I did. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Kaizo-san. I have to say that was like a really traumatic role. You know, like they made us do like maybe not even like 2 hours of training on the trampoline, and then suddenly it's the day that I have to do the trampoline scene, and I'm like, there's no I'm really I had no upper arm strength. There was
no safety net or anything.
No, there was a safety. I was about to say there was no, there was. I wanted to sound really traumatic, but no, there was. But still, you know, you were like high up, and you're there, and there was no way that I was going to go like this and do the whole leg work to get myself back up to the platform. So I went off and I just sort of dangled back and forth.
So you were living in Tokyo or different parts of Japan?
No, I was living in Tokyo. Okay. If you're in the business in any aspect, you've got to be in Tokyo.
Right.
Yes.
And were you pursuing your music while you're acting as well, or?
I was trying to. Okay. So, I did the movie immediately off the plane, straight to the film production set and stuff like that. So for 3 months, it was hardcore filming. And then after that, I got into my apartment and got introduced to the person that became my manager for several years. And he had no idea that I was involved in music. Like, he just knew me as, you're my new client and I'm gonna, pimp you out as the actress. And I'm like, I'm actually a musician. I did this because I'm a singer and because it's what I'm hoping to do. And he had no idea what to do with me because his whole forte was with actresses. So I, for several years I did that all the time, being the squeaky wheel. When are you gonna let me do the music? When are you gonna let me do the music? Yeah.
So the first film came out on 87.
Yeah.
And your first album came out in 91.
91.
Yeah. So the 4 years you kept trying to convince your staff, company.
Yeah.
Wow.
By 91, it was already 4 years that I was in Japan. And I had in my mind when I first went to Japan, I'm going to give myself 5 years and see what happens, right? I'm going to really work hard for 5 years. And then if it doesn't go in the direction I want it to go, I'm out of there. So I think it was probably around that time that I'm thinking, I'm coming up on 5 years. And I went into Taka-san's office. He's the president of the company. And I said, I'm dying here. I can't do this anymore. I have to do music. I am dying. And he, took it to heart. And fortunately, that was the year that Virgin Records had opened their offices in Japan.
So you got signed to Virgin.
So I was one of their first artists.
I think I have something else for our audience as well. Almost like a Disney-esque kind of sound. Were you singing? Or?
Oh my God! So no, can I tell you? So during the period,
I was like, she's from Frozen. She must be like the Japanese songstress for Disney.
Well, what happened was because Taka-san's company, which was called Kitty Enterprise, Kitty Film, they did everything, including anime. So during the time I'm there, like, I'm a musician, give me something. They had an anime called Ginga something. It's a really famous.
Ginga Tetsudo.
Is that the
39?
one?
A very famous one.
Very famous. Like, it's worldwide famous.
Yeah.
That one is their production. Okay. Yeah. And they're like, well, I guess if you want, you could do the theme. And I'm like, yes. So I did the theme twice.
Right.
And because the anime was a huge hit, my song became a hit.
Right.
So that's probably what you're listening to.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that you had a song.
Yeah.
Wow.
I did a little bit of homework.
Yeah, look at him.
Well, come on, of course.
Cool. But you don't really put that on your, discography and stuff like that.
I should, right?
Yeah.
I probably should.
Well, you went under a different name when you were in Japan. You used your surname as your first name. Is that correct? Like, it was Michiru, then... I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I have a lot of names, so it is confusing. So professionally now, I go by Monday Michiru.
Correct.
My legal name is Monday Michiru Mariano. Mariano is my surname. Michiru is my middle name. So I have two names, sort of like Mary Beth,
Right.
Monday Michiru.
Right.
Were you ever using Akiyoshi?
Yes.
Right?
So when I first got to Japan and they put me into this role, their whole thing is, So for the credits, we like to go by Akiyoshi Michiru. And I'm like, you're going to use my mother's last name? No, I'm not Akiyoshi. And they said, well, it's not even up for negotiation. You're going by Akiyoshi Michiru. I'm like,
sounds
okay.
like you signed a lousy contract, right?
Apparently. No, but I understand also why they wanted to do that. In 1987, during that period, to be a half was, still like you were an entertainer, but you weren't a serious actress. So for me to be taken as a serious actress, they wanted to give me
like a Japanese name.
A Japanese name. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they were not trying to monetize on your mother's name, right?
That was my initial feeling, and I didn't want that. I really didn't want to be, clutched under the umbrella of my parents and their fame and what they worked hard to do. I really wanted to go on my own and work for my name,
Yeah.
So,
has that been a struggle for you to separate yourself from your parents? I mean,
honestly, no? Because, I think there were a lot of people probably who understood that I was Akiyoshi Toshiko's daughter, but I don't think they really, because I was in a different field. When I went in as Akiyoshi Michiru, it was as an actress. So they looked at me completely with new eyes, I think, And then when I went into music, even though the first album was under the Michiru Akiyoshi name, I was anxious to change it to Monday Michiru. And, for whatever it's worth, that album did poorly. I don't think it even sold 4,000 copies, which in this day and age, 4,000 is big, But
right. This was
then,
your first record in 91.
My first album with Version, yeah. And they're like, you've got to use the Michiru Akiyoshi name because you've got to ride on your fame as an actress.
That's the one with the white background.
Yeah.
And you're black and white.
Yeah, it's more like a dark blue. Oh, yeah, but the picture is. Yeah, you're right. That's right. Oh, you're so good. You're so good. All right,
I got a show.
All right. So,
and just one more thing, because I don't think we explained who your mother was to our audience, but she is an incredibly gifted, talented jazz pianist, one of the first women to be accepted to Berkeley, right?
Yeah.
In Boston.
Very good. Yeah.
She's toured the globe. She played with what, Dizzy Gillespie or?
She played with everybody. Miles
right?
Davis, Ron Carter was in her first band.
Wow.
And she's played with really everybody.
With everybody, yeah.
Crazy, yeah.
I think she's got a couple Grammys, right?
Yeah. No.
Really?
Can you imagine? She has I don't know how many, 15 or more Grammy nominations. Not once.
Wow.
That is wrong. That is wrong.
But I'm sure she's gained so many other awards, right? And
yeah.
So the Grammys in Japan, do they have something similar? Or?
She's actually the living, the Japanese word for it is kokko, right?
Yeah.
Ningen kokko, right? She's basically the meaning in
living national treasure.
Yeah.
And she's also a jazz master by the NEA, the National Endowment for the Arts.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's pretty amazing. Yeah.
But this show's about you, right?
Me.
It's all about me.
No, but
getting back to you.
Can I tell you, in the beginning when I was starting out, I cringed at the thought that people would understand that I'm her daughter, or my father and stepfather, who are also great musicians in their own rights. And, you just want to be able to climb out of that because you don't want to be that second generation person who doesn't quite make it as well as your parents. And you're just like, oh, well, I guess they didn't really get the talent, did they? It really sucks when that happens.
It must be such a hard thing. To walk in anybody's shoes.
Yeah,
right,
sure.
Of course.
Absolutely.
And to have that expectation. Did your parents, did they pressure you like that?
Never.
I don't think so, right?
Never. No, and probably, the honest truth of it is me giving myself pressure more than anybody else. That's the truth of it. And now that I'm more comfortable in my skin and feel that I've, I know the direction and the world that I'm trying to create and have created, I'm very comfortable with saying that I'm their daughter and give accolades aplenty, because without them, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. And I recognize that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were always encouraging.
Very encouraging.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that they, bought me like the best flute possible when I was still, in braces and, and after I lost that great first flute on the bus,
Wow.
bought me another great flute. I mean, that doesn't speak volumes.
Wow.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, yeah. No.
That's
my God.
that's encouragement.
That's
such encouragement.
That's love.
But I was just watching some footage. You did a tour about 5 years ago with your mother in Japan.
Yes, yes, I did.
Yeah.
Wow, Greg, I'm just like shocked.
What do you think? I'm gonna have you come sit in our show, and I'm like, "Who's this Monday girl?"
I was hoping that there was gonna be tequila lined up here.
And I'm so glad to have known you for about 5 years, and we've
I know you for like 20 something years.
Yeah, since '96.
Yeah, and I always love the time that we spend together.
Yeah.
So of course I'm gonna do my homework a little bit.
Wow.
Next question.
I'm done with you, dear. I ain't gonna ask no more. I tried once, I tried 2, 3 times, but not 4. There's only so much I can take. It's such a big